Good day, fellow students. This is Prof. David here. I'm about to present a short lecture on the structure of a paragraph. As you can see, I still find many students struggling with the basic structure of a paper, which is a paragraph. I thought I should present a lecture on how to structure a paragraph. In this lecture, I'm going to focus much more on the PEEL framework of writing a paragraph. Okay. We're going to look at the component of a paragraph. Okay, let me just push this thing. We're going to look at the component of a paragraph. Okay, you can see, let me get the laser. You can see that a paragraph is a building block of an academic paper, right? If you write the paper, that paper is going to compose of many paragraphs. Okay, so depending on the type of academic documents that you're writing, you have a different structure, but at the end of the day, you'll be writing paragraph in each section of that document. All right, so that's where we are today, right? Okay, so each paragraph in your paper must be built around a central idea. Okay, this concept of a central idea or a theme, this concept comes from the fact that there's always a reason why you're writing a paper. Okay, whether it's an essay, whether it's a manuscript for a publication, whether it's a proposal. So there's a structure that you must follow. And depending on the structure, you must write a paragraph to respond to the task. So I'll take, for example, a scientific paper. You've conducted a research on a topic, or you're writing a review paper, and there's an objective that you need to address. So you're going to get central points or central ideas that you want to respond to that task given to you. If it is an essay, then you have points that you are going to respond to that essay. If it is an argumentative essay, then you are going to have arguments or points that you are going to respond to the task that has been given to you. Okay, so now for you to be able to complete the task, you need to look for the points. Okay, the points that you will use to respond to the task that has been given to you, right? Then you need to develop those points into a paragraph. Okay, in some cases, you might have a heading, okay? Under that heading, you need to get points to write that heading. So depending on the heading that you have, you need to get points to talk to that heading, okay? If it is something that is argumentative, then you need to get arguments to talk to that heading. And then you need to develop each of the points or the arguments into a paragraph. That's where we are. Because in most cases, when you find students, especially when they want to write their introduction, they need to write their introduction in paragraphs. All right. Then you find a scenario where students are just writing things randomly without really organizing the paragraphs around central ideas or points that are talking to the topic. You understand? So a paragraph must have a topic sentence. So now that after you've obtained the point that you want to use to build your paragraph, so the first thing that you do in writing the paragraph is to state the point. But we are going to see in the slide below. Okay, so before we move to the structure of the paragraph proper, I want us to look at the PEEL approach. So this is PEEL, PEEL. Okay, it's a kind of a framework that you can follow to write a paragraph. What does it do? It can be used to write a proper paragraph that we know. That is why we've resorted to it. Okay, the PEEL approach ensures the logical flow of information in a paragraph. Yes, because if you follow the structure, you are going to write a paragraph in which the sentences are not carrying information that is repetitive, or you are not repeating yourself in that paragraph. And it ensures unity of sentence. This is another one. It ensures that each sentence that appears in the paragraph is unique from the other sentences in the paragraph. So if you have unity of your sentences, then you prevent repetition of information, which you've said above. All right, the pillar approach ensures that you do not form paragraph arbitrarily. Okay, there are many students who just write, and if they think that they've write enough, they just press the enter and then form a paragraph. So you find out that they form their paragraphs arbitrarily using unrelated sentences. So they just go to the literature, they just build up sentences. At some point, they decided that I've had enough and now I must create a paragraph. If you are writing like that, it means you are doing things the wrong way. Okay, so let's look at the PEEL approach. The PEEL approach, you have the P, which stands for point, right? The point that you need to make. The point that you need to make from your main point, you know. All right, you have your main point, because when you are gathering information to respond to your task, to respond to the topic, you gather points. So for each of those points now, you need to state it in a way that someone can understand it. So you state the point. It can be points, actually. You can have more than one point in a paragraph, just depend on how related they are. So you building a paragraph, we start by stating the point. And once you do that, that sentence in which you've stated the point is what we normally refer to as the topic sentence. So if I'm reading your work, I'll identify your paragraph, right? Based on the spacing. You know, there's a paragraph spacing. Then when I look at each paragraph, the first thing that I want to see the topic sentences. If I don't find topic sentences in your paragraph, then I know that we are not using the proper format to write a paragraph, right? Okay, so the next thing that must follow the point that you stated is the evidence. So you must use examples or clear evidence from literature, from other publication to support the point that you've made. So if it's an argumentative kind of a write-up, when the point will be the main argument that you want to put forward. Then now you need to use examples and evidence to support your arguments, right? Then after you've provided examples, you need to explain how the examples or the evidence that you've provided support the point that you are making, or points that you've made above. Okay, then the third part of a paragraph, I mean the fourth part, which is the last part of a paragraph, is a kind of a summary of the points, you know, a kind of a highlight of the point, and also try to link the point to the next paragraph, the point that you are going to make in the next paragraph. So this is something that you can only do when you write a lot. So there's no way I can explain to you how you can link one paragraph to another paragraph without using a proper example. But if you can produce a summary of the main point that you've discussed in that paragraph, but I think that one is also good enough. All right, so now let's look at the structure of a paragraph. The actual structure of a paragraph. So I've used the basic form of writing, which is an essay, right? So that's the basic form of writing. But most scientific writing, most scientific writings follow this format. Okay, in which the first part of the write-up would be your introduction, right? Whereby you write general information about the topic. The length of the introduction will depend on the type of document that you are writing. If you are writing an essay, then we need an introduction that will be a paragraph long. Okay, depending on how big your essay will be and the level at which you are, your paragraph can range from 10 to 15 lines. I mean, but if you are in a primary, it can be less than 10 lines, right? At the secondary, right up to the university, it can be 10 to 15 lines or ever more. Okay, so it depends on the standard at the level at which you are. But I just want you to understand that there's always a structure in any form of a document that you're writing. But we assume that you have the introduction for a basic essay, right? You have the introduction where you provided a background of the topic, okay? Then you must have a thesis statement. For those of you who are responding to questions in your examination, those of you who are writing reports, it's going to follow this essay format, right? You have a thesis statement whereby you provide in a short sentence how you are going to address the task that has been provided to you, all right? The steps in which you are going to use to answer the task, how you are going to do it. If it's an argumentative, how you're going to approach it. So that's just basically what we call the thesis statement. It's just telling the reader what you are going to do. You understand? If it's an argumentative essay, then here you should be telling the reader that you are going to argue for, you are going to argue against, or you are going to provide a narrative, or you are going to provide a supporting evidence to support a scenario, you know, or you're doing a critical analysis. You are going to critically analyze maybe an event or something. So always make sure that you have the right thesis statements in your write-up. Okay, for those who are writing articles, journal articles for publication, scientific articles, you also have the introduction there. The introduction there is usually sometimes half a page, sometimes a full page, you know. At the end of your introduction for a paper, you always have the aim and objective of the paper and some form of a thesis statement. But the best way to know is to read papers in your discipline. Go towards the end of the introduction and find out the similarities. You find something there which is in the form of a thesis statement, and sometimes you might have objectives and aims added to it. Okay, so all what I'm saying is that your introduction must stand out. Okay, and at the end of your introduction, you must have some form of a thesis statement for those who are doing reports, for those who want to approach examination essay questions, those examination questions that are in the essay format. This is the approach. Then you have the body, right? I'm not saying that you must write body as a heading in your essay. That is absolute nonsense, okay? It's just to tell you that your essay has the introduction, it has a body, and it has a conclusion. But the introduction, it can be written in the essay as a heading. The conclusion can be written in the essay as a heading, but not the body. Please don't write body as a heading in your essay or in any response or in any report. Okay. Thesis statement is also not written as a heading. Please don't say heading, thesis statement. It is not good. Right? We know the thesis statement is just supposed to appear at the end of your introduction. It's not, you can't demarcate it into a heading. Okay, I've said that also we don't use body as a heading. So now this is just for demonstration's sake. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that your body is where you make your main arguments, right? Where you present the main points. So, I mean, if for instance, you want to investigate the effect of climate change, right? You have your introduction. In your thesis statement, you can say, I'm going to provide evidence to show that, or I'm going to discuss evidence to show that climate change is a serious problem, or climate change affects agriculture, okay? Then in your body, you have the first point to support that, to answer the task should be discussed in one paragraph. The second point should be discussed in another paragraph. The third point should be discussed in another paragraph. Please don't discuss your points randomly in different paragraphs. because that's what many students do. When you read their paper, you see that the points are just scattered all over the place. The points that are answering the task given should be discussed in separate paragraphs. So that's why on this side I said body paragraph, first point. Okay. You have the body. So the paragraph in the body, the first point should be the first paragraph. Body paragraph 2, the paragraph in the body, the second point should be discussed there. The third point should be discussed in body paragraph 3. So this is supposed to be 3. Okay. So you can see that writing in paragraph is a structured affair. Then you have your conclusion. So this, you are concluding on the task that was given. Some people, they conclude on something else. I mean, if you are given a task, your conclusion should be a kind of an answer, a holistic answer to the task that was given, taking in consideration the points that you've made. Okay. Now, there's also essay writing that instead of discussing the points in paragraphs, you can take the first point and create a heading, right? You take a second point and create a heading. You take a third point and create a heading, and so on and so forth. For those large reports, for those long essays, right? You can do that. And also, if you are answering an examination, a written question, or an essay type question, you can also follow this approach, right? You have your introduction. It's basically the same. So depending on the type of document that you write in, you must find out how long the introduction can be. Sometimes it will be prescribed. Sometimes it's expected that you find out for yourself. Then at the end of your introduction, you must have a thesis statement that will set. Okay, so it's pretty standard in most documents. The introduction is pretty standard, right? Sometimes the introduction will have several paragraphs in which you discuss different things, but you also need to follow the paragraph format. So in your introduction, you can say, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this. Mostly general things that are related to the topic. But please don't start to put your points. Don't start to make your main points in the introduction, because you have a thesis statement that the thesis statement that will tell us how you are going to approach the task, how you are going to answer the task. So just imagine that you start to put points in your introduction. Then thereafter, you're coming to tell us that this is how I'm going to answer my task. It's a little bit clumsy. So avoid putting your main points. Avoid putting the key points in your introduction. Okay, so all the points that are answering the task directly should be in the body. Okay, so in this approach, you use the first point and convert it into a heading, right? And then now you discuss it, the point in paragraphs below. So the paragraph is still going to be the same thing. The first sentence must be the topic sentence here. Or the first sentences, like I said, it can be more than one point that you're making. Should be the topic sentences. Then after you are done with the topic sentence or topic sentences, then now you need to provide evidence in the next set of sentences. And then when you are done, and then you start to explain your points and use the evidence and examples to explain the points that you've provided, just as I've explained in the previous slides. So the purpose of this slide is just to tell you that you can also take your main points and convert them into headings and then discuss them in paragraphs. This one is also good, especially for very long reports, for very long essay questions, for very long documents. You can also use this when you are doing a critical review, a literature review, and stuff like that. So, but like I'm saying, the requirement of the document that you are writing should be known in advance. But I'm just saying, in cases where you want to structure your paper, these are the techniques that we use with respect to the structuring of paragraph. And the structuring of paragraph also is not random. So you can see that you must look for points to answer your task. And then you outline the points. And then now you formulate paragraph within each point. And on top of that, you don't repeat points, you don't repeat sentences. So it's a well-structured document. So those of you who are just picking things and putting in the paper, and at the end of the day, you have your document without, looking for the correct points that are addressing the correct heading, that are addressing the correct task given, then it means you are not doing scientific writing. Okay, so this is the end of it. So I hope that you people will go back and try to practice how to write. I mean, if you have any question, you can send me an email